79th at Halas, what it is, what it do. Since Bobby Ingham, Curtis Ennis, know that we been loyal even when we wasn't winning. A trusted source for the news. 79th at Halas.
I added you like 3 times. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I get for trying to be producer. I should have let you just press that button. But anyway, we are here, people. 79th and Halas, our final preseason, training camp pod. First of all, I want to thank everybody who showed up to 79th and Halas 200 about 2 weeks ago. Almost 3 weeks ago now. Damn. Time be flying. Time be flying. So we appreciate all y'all. We appreciate all y'all who bought a t-shirt, man. We sold out pretty much in all of them. Like, I only really got like 3 left. Because the 3Xs I thought were actually gonna be actual 3X. I actually felt like 2Xs. So for all the big guys out there, we gonna look out for you. All the tall guys, we gonna look out for you when the merch shop launches. So we appreciate y'all. But how you feeling, man?
I'm exhausted.
I know you're part of the working people now. You know what I'm saying? But we are here to talk about Chicago Bears football as we are we about 12 days away, about 13 days away from the actual start of the season.
No, we are 11.
We're 11. Oh, so I'm off.
September 11th.
September 11th. So yeah, we're about 11 days from that. Yeah, man, I've never felt like a season like, it feels like it's closer than I thought it would be. Like, it's still like, okay, it's really time for the main show. So we're going to go over a whole bunch of stuff today. We're going to go over roster cuts, who actually got cut today. The final 53 was, finalized this afternoon.
Today. Yep.
Yeah, so, and then also we're going to discuss Justin Fields' performance in the last preseason game against the Cleveland Browns. We'll talk about how the offensive line looked and all that good stuff, man. And then we're going to give a final win total prediction on this year's season, man. So let's just get right into it, man. So I have the list of players who were cut today. I'm actually shocked that Isaiah Coulter got cut.
Why?
I don't know why. I actually thought he would probably make the team, but you want to just
with the way Dante Pettis played in that preseason game, final one, the way Tajay Sharp has played all preseason and had a great camp, I didn't figure there was a way for Coulter to make the team. Same with Webster, same with Fink. Or Finky, not sure how you would pronounce it. I didn't figure there was a way. Excuse me, I'm pouring Gatorade because I am exhausted. I didn't figure there was a way for any of them to make the team. Tajay Sharp really standing out was probably the nail in the coffin for the majority of the rest of the wide receivers. As much as people shit on the wide receiver core, I do think these are a really tough group of wide receivers. You can see Velus Jones' quickness. You can Darnell Mooney's going to be great. Even though people talk like, I forgot who said he was a 5th rounder, he's not a number 1. I think Darnell Mooney will surprise people this year and really have a number 1 type season because I think he can be a number 1. We're not in an era where you have to be a 6'2" to be a number 1 wide receiver. That seemed to be like the go-to height. 6'2" is like, all right, and then you'll have the random guys who stand out. I can remember Braylon Edwards of the Browns.
That's a name.
6'4" or something.
Remember when LeBron kicked Braylon Edwards out of Ohio? A lot of people don't remember that.
It's not; those days don't happen anymore. You got someone like Cooper Kupp who had the best season of the wide receiver last year. Cooper Kupp had about 1,800 yards receiving, and so now you're into that area where it does not necessarily matter your height. Now, I'm not sure you can be. I don't know, 5'7" and be a wide receiver. But Cooper Kupp,
height and be a wide receiver.
Cooper Kupp's a solid 6 feet. And it's funny because they list his height as 6'2", and he's not 6'2". That is a 6-foot man.
Yeah.
I'm just laughing. I'm like 6'2". Yeah, there's no way he's 6'2". He is completely 6 feet.
It's funny, like when you meet these people in real life and you see them around, like Steph Curry is legitimately 6'4".
Yeah.
And Derrick Rose is not 6'3".
No.
Like, you know what I'm saying? When you see people close up.
I'm crying. They said this nigga Cooper Cup was 6'2". This is cap.
Cap.
Yeah, but so I'm sorry. I'm flabbergasted. Yeah. No. There's no way. This is cap. So it may have hurt my point, but originally I just to say someone like Darnell Mooney still has the ability because Cooper Cup is still an undersized wide receiver. Cooper Cup is 200 pounds, soaking wet. Whereas Darnell Mooney is probably around that size as well. Darnell Mooney is sitting in about 6 feet, maybe 185 ish, and so I think he can have a number one wide receiver season. You know what I mean? And then of course you got the prototype of someone who was short, Steve Smith, who did great at his size.
Yeah, definitely. Let's say you want to just name the people who come in. There's a lot of people who cut today. Or you want to talk about notable cuts.
No, we can name them. I mean, we can name them.
Okay.
Then we'll it's messed up to say we'll decide what's notable.
Well, here's the list of players that the Bears have waived today: tight end Chase Allen, wide receiver Isaiah Coulter, defensive lineman Micah Treadway.
Alignment Dieter Eisman, running back Darnington
Evans.
Wide receiver Chris Finke, linebacker DeMarcus Gates, Thomas Graham Jr. That kind of sucked to hear. Oh.
I mean, I wasn't too surprised because he's been kind of hurt. He's been kind of beat up.
Yeah. Never really had the opportunity to showcase as much as he could, but I really liked the way he played in that last game last year, and I thought this would be leading up to a ramp up.
Last couple games, he played pretty well.
So we'll have to see what happens with him in the practice squad and if he catches a call up later in the season. San Kamara, defensive lineman, that's not really shocking. Latavius Simmons should have been happening. Charles Snowden, AJ Thomas, Demontre Tuggle, and December Webster. December Webster is another person where it's kind of redundant. After you saw Vedas Jones return to Tennessee, return kicks and punts at Tennessee, and then after you saw Vedas Jones do as well as he did on the return, pretty sure December Webster had a good return too. But once you saw that Velas could do that, it was like, why do you need to hold on to December Webster? So that's not really shocking. And then the vested veterans, you had Sean Coleman, Trevin Coley, Mario Edwards Jr., Devontae Harris, Nathan Peterman, Michael Schofield III, Greg Stroman.
So can you explain to people what vested veterans mean for those who don't know?
Well, first I wanted to get into Nathan Peterman, which
the Peterman.
Yeah, I thought to myself, he's going to end up being on the probably the practice squad unless someone scoops him up. So I'm not.
Nobody scooping Nathan Peterman up.
You'd be shocked how long this man has got to check in the NFL. Yeah. You'd be really shocked at how long people are in the NFL. But I was really shocked to see the fact that he even picked him up. But this is just what it is. But a vested veteran is 3 or more credited seasons under the CBA rules. It calls it credit season. I think you can be injured reserve or something like that. But a vested veteran is you've had 3 more credit seasons.
Okay.
Yeah, which means like when you're dealing with contract negotiations, you are a part of the CBA negotiations. So
makes sense.
Moving on.
Name that
I thought we had the rest of them off.
Well, those people cut, but also the Chicago Bears have terminated the following vested veteran with non-football illness, and that's tight end James Shaughnessy. And then the Chicago Bears.
That's O'Shaughnessy.
That's what I said.
You said Shaughnessy?
I said O'Shaughnessy.
Sure.
And then the Chicago Bears placed the following player on reserve, injured DB Tavon Young. So those are your cuts and people who we're no longer here. And for those of you who don't know, Justin Fields made the team. Big if true.
Big thing.
So of course we haven't. I'm still interested to see who's going to be the starting offensive line. I think that Jenkins, Tevin, he says James Hennessy in the comments. I'm not the best reader of names for those of you who listen to all these Barbershop podcasts, but I'm really interested to see what the starting offensive line is going to look like. I feel like Tevin Jenkins has really stepped up in these last couple weeks. Him and Bourne are looking like a good tandem. I still want to know, it doesn't look like we haven't heard anything about if Lucas Patrick is going to be available for week 1. Doesn't look like we're expecting him to, considering he has had like no practice time. But before we get into, Justin Fields and, how he looked on Saturday.
I did want to just say the official 53.
Okay, go ahead.
Just to get out the way. So, of course, quarterback, you got Justin Fields, Trevor Siemian. Trevor Siemian, I've been a fan of Trevor Siemian since he was at Northwestern running that 2 quarterback
He's
system.
a good backup.
I think it's a really good backup to have. You pray that nothing happens to Justin Fields or any starting quarterback. But in today's NFL, quarterbacks miss a couple games per season now. That seems to be the norm, especially with players taking more hits, being more mobile, having to get out the pocket, getting hit on the sideline. Whereas before, if you had a good offensive line, you kept your quarterback in the pocket, you would try for them not to take big hits. But if you saw Justin Fields, even in preseason, he didn't get a lot of the calls on taking big hits. Yeah. So you need to have a good backup, and Trevor Siemian looked really good this preseason. David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert, my man Tristan Ebner, really, really proud of him. I'm really glad that he made the team. He looked great. He'll get some special teams time, and Khalil or David Montgomery need a rest. He'll come in. I'm really, really happy with that. But one of my biggest thing I like is Kari Blasingame. He is a very, very good fullback. And if you know me, I love the fullback.
You love a good fullback.
It reminds me of the time when we built things in America. But it just it's just, man, I think you cannot replace the blocking of a fullback with a tight end. I really don't. I'm not sure I have ever seen the best fullback can block in the history of the NFL, can block 10 times better than the best tight end. Especially with the way tight ends come now. Tight ends now are just big targets for the quarterback. They're pass catchers first. And they happen
big wide receivers.
They're bigger wide receivers who can get a bit more positioning. And when you need them to, stop a blitz here or there, they can do it much more than a wide receiver can. But a fullback, that fullback probably thinking to himself, I'm not going to see the ball like a tight end will. And so I need to be blocking. And so I'm really happy that he's there. Jake Dalton is another fullback. Just 2 tight ends kept, Cole Kmet, Ryan Griffin. And then for your centers and your guards, you got Lucas Patrick, of course. Hope for him to come back healthy because the Bears could definitely use him on the line. Lucas Patrick, Cody Whitehair, Sam Mustipher. Sam Mustipher didn't look as bad, but, I guess that the fact that he is –
and the bar isn't Hill.
Yeah, he isn't the starter anymore. But I did like the fact that he actually ran to the – I remember when Herb Howard of the Big asked at the start of the season last year, who's that nasty player on your team that you can just model yourselves after? And he said, we're not sure yet. And it was like, huh? And then he reiterated that question in Ryan Post's press conference. And he said he didn't like it. He didn't like that it didn't come to the aid of Justin Fields. He hated it. And so to see Justin take the hit and see Cody Whitehair, Sam Mustipher rush over there and bum rush him, because it's just to make a statement. It's to make a stand. Meaning you're not going to – our resolve is here, and we're determined, and we're going to protect our quarterback. So that's pretty cool. Then you got Tevin Jenkins, Jatari Tom. That's the name.
See, I almost messed it up.
Jatari Carter. Zachary Thomas, Braxton Jones. Braxton Jones is good. He's a locked in for that left tackle position. Larry Boydman, Riley Reeve. Tevin Jenkins was playing some guard. It's a big guard.
Yeah.
Big guard next to Cody to Larry Bourne. Then the wide receivers, Darnell Mooney, Byron Pringle, N'Keal Harry, Equiminius St. Brown, Velus Jones, Dante Pettis, Tajay Sharp. I'm really expecting a really good season out of Equiminius St. Brown.
Man, I think he's gonna be a sleeper.
I think it's because he knows the offense.
Yeah, because he's in Green Bay. Yeah, and I didn't know that. He was he has a brother on the Detroit Lions.
That makes sense.
Because I was watching Hard Knocks, and I was like St. Brown. I was like, man, I wonder if he's related to EQ. And then they had their father who won like Mr. America back in the 70s, and he was like, I've been having my kids bodybuilding since they was 12, and then you see EQ right next to him. I'm like, oh shit, they are related. So,
but I'm interested to see how this plays out, especially when N'Keal Harry gets healthy.
Yeah,
because he's a big receiver and he's looking for a second chance. His size alone is why he got that spot.
Yeah,
but he was very good in college, and he was a first-round pick, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens when he gets healthy and when he comes back. Because that's just a big target, and that's just a big dude that you want to see what he can do on a new team. And maybe he just needed He was the last pick in the first round in 2019. And maybe just need a new scenery. I don't know. So I said all the wide receivers, and then you at the defensive line, and you got Robert Quinn, Al-Quadin Muhammad, Dominique Robertson, Travis Gibson, Angelo Blackson, Kyrus Tonga, Justin Jones, Mike Pennell. Kyrus Tonga, I'm expecting big things from. Yeah, linebackers, Roquan Smith, Nicholas Morrow, Matthew Adams, Joe Thomas, my boy, Jack Sanborn.
Jack Singletary has made the team.
Caleb Johnson. Jack Singletary was a no-brainer. You know, Jack Singletary was a no-brainer.
I'm laughing at you calling him that twice like this.
What?
Jack Singletary.
He was a no-brainer. You know, that's a person that had to get picked up. Can you hear me? Is my mic okay?
Yes, I can hear you. You're good to go.
So that's
shout out to our people in the comments. Brandon Collier put EQ gonna mess around and be a quality wide receiver too. Knows offense and wants a shout out thing. And bro is 6'5" that fast. I didn't know he was 6'5".
Them dudes don't be the height that they say. I just want to let you know.
That nigga's got probably like 6'2".
NFL, they all lie about that.
No, athletes lie.
But basketball, it's a lot of, people just believe. I mean, like LeBron has been listed. It's typically 6'8" or 6'9".
No, LeBron is a strong 6'9", 6'10".
But he's been listed as 6'8" or 6'9" his whole career. Cooper Kupp is not 6'2".
Draymond's not 6'9".
No.
Draymond is 6'6". Like for sure. I didn't
Charles
bet Draymond
3-4
times. Yeah, exactly.
Those are linebackers. You got Jalen Jones, Kyler Gordon, Kendall Vildor, Lamar Jackson, Duke Shelley, Jalen Jones, Eddie Jackson, Jaquan Brisker, DHC, Dane Krushak, Elijah Hicks, and then Kyra.
You want to hear my take?
What?
The DBs are going to be the strongest phase of the team.
Not a hot take.
Well, I feel like because there's just a lot of rookie on here.
True.
And, what I'm saying? And people trying to say, I think that's going to be the one. And also, Jaquan Brisker, even though he did have surgery, is scheduled to play.
Looking forward to that.
Week 1, which is good. That's why I like the little 2-week break in between the last preseason game and week 1 gives everybody a chance to rest their body.
My opinion would be that they take 3 weeks to rest their body, no practice whatsoever for 2 of those weeks, and then you can spend the last week getting ramped up. Just because the human body,
it's an 18-week season, man. It's long.
Exactly, it just needs a break. Then the specialist, Cairo Santos, obviously. The real punt guy, Trenton Gill, since the other punt guy is a terrible person, he needs to burn in hell. And then, of course, Patrick Scales, who's basically freaking going to have a job forever.
Yeah, he's been here forever.
Our coach in high school said, learn how to long snap and you'll have a career. So, but yeah, that is the Bears 53-man roster. A lot better. Well, I mean, when Ryan Post started picking up players left and right. Who are you getting him for? And then you see the toughness, the hits philosophy of Matt Eberflus and the toughness that Ryan Poles wanted to sign. I think this team is a lot better than you think they are. And if Justin, which gets us into our next point, if Justin plays the way he played.
But before you guys you said you bring it up about Poles, I want to give a stat about Poles' team or how many people are here from the other
big turnover.
Regime. Big turnover. So it's only 22 players remain from the Ryan Pace era. That means the Bears had a overall turnover rate of 59% in this current roster from the new regime, and that stat comes from Aaron Lemon on Twitter. So that's he emptied a lot of trash out.
You know, the funny thing is, it's more of an indictment on. It's a big indictment on Ryan Pace. You know what I'm saying? As much as I don't think Matt Nagy is a good coach, that just it's even worse when you have a general manager who doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And as I said to you, and as I said at the end of last season, I don't care about names anymore. Look at the wide receiver room. There ain't no big names in there. You know what I'm saying? You know Ecomenia St. Brown because he caught a touchdown or 2 for Man Rodgers.
Man Rodgers, right.
That's all you know.
And honestly, if I wasn't in the NFC, if we weren't a fan of a team in the NFC North, I still wouldn't know.
Exactly. Tajay Sharp, it's not a big name that you're going to know. Dante Pettis, not a big name that you're going to know. But you like them because of the fact that they've been working hard all camp and they've been putting in work when they're called upon. And that's all the Bears need right now. And then, of course, when you get to next year, when they have the most cap space, then you can pick up a veteran or 2. But this team is young, and it's good to build from here. And they got a fullback. That's what matters.
got 2 fullbacks on the roster.
You know what I'm saying? They got a fullback.
Real men football.
I used to look up to Mike Allstott, bro. He was just a bruiser.
Mike Allstott. Was he on the cover of Madden? Or who was that? Peyton Hillis.
Peyton Hillis
was
Mike Allstott may have been on the
but Mike Allstott is the GOAT. start up the gut.
Block you in the hell, run you over, pass catch. Like, the fullback has to come back into the game, bro. The fullback has to come back into the game because even if you want to be a pass first league or be a pass first team, having a fullback pick up a blitz is so much more better than having your running back pick up that blitz. Yeah. And then if he is a solid runner, the team has to decide, okay, are you running this fullback or are you using him as a decoy just so you can have someone pick the blitz? Or you put them both in the backfield and have them pick up a blitz. You know what I'm saying? Put your tight end out wide or take your tight end out. There's so many things that you can do. The fullback has to come back into the NFL. I'm going to be the old man screaming at the clouds. Hey,
I'm with you, man.
The fullback has to come back into the game. Let's get into Justin Fields' big performance.
Let's get into Mr. Justin Skylar Fields.
Crazy middle name.
That's a wild light-skinned middle name.
And it's funny to see national media, and this is no disrespect to national media. I'm not the Draymond guy who's like, new media. No.
New media.
That's lame. It's corny. But
even though we kind of are new media. Like,
no, we are new media, but I'm not.
But I feel what you're saying. We're not disrespecting old media.
Exactly, because we work with legacy media, and we love the dudes that we work with. They're great people. Get off my nigga Dan Weeder, bro. That's my boy.
Yeah, we don't say that right now. We are
get off my boy Dan Weeder.
Let's just put that out right there. We are a pro Dan Weeder podcast.
This is a pro Dan Weeder podcast. I'm not taking no slander. I'm
not taking no Weeder slander. That's my guy.
He's been realistic with you all for years.
And when was he wrong? Ain't his fault. Y'all only hear the dirty truth.
He ain't been wrong.
When the last time?
Good guy.
Blame the Bears for putting shit on the field for 30 fucking years. Don't get mad at him for reporting it.
You know what I'm saying? Anyway, going into Justin Fields' game, Justin Fields was flat out phenomenal. I do want to address the comment. Oh, he played against third stringers. 7 of the 8 players were starters. 7 of the 8 players on defensive against the Browns were starters. Let's get that out the way first and foremost. Secondly, the Bears did not have several starters in there. Secondly, this is still the NFL. If he were to play terrible, he can't play against second string and third string. Him playing great, it's just second string and third string. You can't win. Do I recognize the nuance within this situation? Yes, they're missing someone like Myles Garrett, who alone can take over a game. Of course I do. Will he have as much time as he does? No. But what you did like from him is the fact that more so than his stats, he had 3 touchdowns. He threw 1 to Cole Kmet, Dante Pettis, and Ryan Griffin. So 2 tight ends and 1 wide receiver. The Dante Pettis one was so beautiful because it was perfectly timed. And that's what the reason, like, you want to have that all 22 footage for the season, which because, during when I'm working, I'm going to try to get my time and watch them all 22 footage. That way I can report what I see on the podcast. When you see Justin Fields snap the ball, first read, he sees the read of Dante Pettis opening. I don't have to look at anybody else. As soon as Dante Pettis is breaking, the ball's already thrown. And so when Dante Pettis is looking toward it, the ball's already about to land in his hands. Yeah. First foot down, drags it a right one, touchdown. Beautiful play. We're going to go to the other one, which is the Ryan Griffin touchdown. Justin Fields plants his feet. And it's funny because I was watching Mitchell Trubisky with the Steelers, another person I wish nothing for the best for. Mitchell never learned how to plant and throw off the front foot. Plant, throw. And that's what is funny. That's what baseball players master. A third baseman catches the ball streaming down the line. Yep. You know what the first thing that he does? Grabs it. What's he do? Plants his feet, sets up. It's coming off that front foot. One of the very few things that Yoel Moncada does well. Coming off that front foot. I'm so disappointed in him. But
we're not gonna get into that team.
Coming off that front foot, and when they throw it comes with velocity. And that's what quarterbacks have to emulate. Throwing with velocity, coming off fast, and coming there accurately. And Justin planted his feet, threw it. Ryan Griffin turns around, catches it in the breadbasket. But my favorite touchdown was the one to Cole Kmet. He is looking at, I don't know if that was blasting game or Tristan Emmer he had on the sidelines, but he was manipulating the defense with his eyes. He was looking, and I think Dante Pettis or Ryan Griffin was right into that next level. And then you had Cole Kmet all the way in the defensive backfield. And he says, okay. So he looks at Ebner or blasting game. I think it was blasting game. Pump fakes it, looks toward Ryan Griffin, then tosses it to Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet's wide open. And you're not looking at the stats so much, like 3 touchdowns is great. But what you're looking for is the timing of his passes, the accuracy of his passes, and his ability to manipulate the defense, whether pre-snap or when he's out on the roll or when he's sitting in the pocket going through his progressions. And so that is why I think that was such a great game, because it showed the maturity of him. And it showed how Luke Getsy's offense, because those were great play calls. Luke Getsy, and it's a shame that we have to get. I'm shocked to see it. You know, he got a curl route to Equiminius, and I was like, the curl route was used so wrong last season.
Man,
it was never
so
open.
many things were used wrong last season.
You know, the Bears barely used the high-low concept. So to see that happen in the game, I think it was great. Justin Fields' performance was great. Offense looked good. I'm really looking forward to it. And, you know, go out on preseason undefeated. Means nothing at all, but it's pretty cool.
Don't mean shit, but I think when you look at this, I mean, first of all, look at the numbers. 14 for 16, 156 yards, 3 touchdowns. You know, he was averaging 9.8 yards a throw. I mean, they said from ESPN, he had the best numbers of any quarterback in preseason this year. And of course, preseason doesn't mean shit. I just want to keep telling people.
Okay, I didn't say anything out loud. Look what Google said.
I don't know what they said. Thinking about,
it's terrifying.
Hey, man,
I didn't look anything up. I said
these
it out loud.
phones are the fucking feds, man. These phones are the fucking feds. I remember I bought some on Amazon, and I saw an ad for what I just bought in my Instagram. The phones are the feds. But anyway, for those of you who don't know what we're referencing, we were talking about, you know, covering the Green Bay game week 2 before we recorded this. So I just want to let y'all know what we talk about. But anyway, so more things. I know it's preseason. You can't take too much for it. But the reason I hate it's just preseason. There's multiple things I hate about this. And there's multiple things I hate about the Justin Fields coverage. And one thing that I love about Justin is he don't give a fuck. Like, this isn't bothering Justin, whatever. And I think a lot of people forget Justin dealt with a lot of criticism leaving Georgia to go to Ohio State.
My point is national media. I talked about it, not to disrespect national media, but to see national media's turn or changing their tune is probably the issue with national media. It's because it's hard. Like, for instance, we see Stacey Dales come and cover the Bears last year.
She covers the Bears a lot because I think she's like an NFC North reporter.
Exactly. And then
I think she lives in Chicago.
Then she has to cover the Packers. I saw her covering the Vikings. She has such a tough job to go from point A to point B and be at so many different locations. And then she has to then relay that information to her colleagues to have it herself. But the people you hear from aren't the Stacey Dales who's actually in the trenches. You'll hear from some random NFL veteran who ain't paying attention. Some random NFL veteran who just sees the roster. So this is trash. They're putting Justin in a bad position. And unfortunately, that is what gets clicks. That's what gets engagements. But it's the same thing like with Trey Lance. You know, when Trey Lance says Jimmy G's coming back, nobody wanted him. Yeah, you'll sign him. He's a good backup. Scott's going to have his own point about Trey Lance.
There's more to that than that.
No, it isn't.
It is.
It is more than a top 10 pick. He's the quarterback.
No, I think it's both. I think it makes it easy to trade, but I didn't say that. I ain't say he's taking his job. I'm saying I don't related to that. I think that he ain't ready. That's what I think.
I don't think it's nothing remotely related to that. Trey Lance had a year to sit.
Are you a Trey Lance guy?
I'm a Trey Lance guy.
Okay,
I'm a guy for every single quarterback. But see, that's the thing. I'm not a person who's gonna say I'm biased or I didn't like the way he looked. A lot of the passes he made were the same passes Mr. Trubisky would make and be like, "Oh, he's great." No, it's a simple pass. Like Justin Fields, like I said, don't overly praise him. But when something big happened, like the preseason, I said a timing pass. Manipulating the defense with your eyes. I praise it. So no, but I want Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. I want all these Mac Jones. I want all these quarterbacks to succeed because they're the next level of quarterback. And I want them to succeed. So
I didn't say I didn't want them to succeed. I said I didn't believe in them. That's two different things. I didn't say I didn't want them to succeed.
Now, where I may be wrong is Zach Wilson. He's injured, of course, but in the time I saw him, didn't look good.
I believe in Zach Wilson way more than I believe in Trey Lance.
Trey Lance is the biggest project because he did not face the competition and he coming with not as many stats as those dudes are. So,
but that's a two-minute conversation. But exactly. What I was gonna say is from the coverage that Justin dealt with a lot leaving Georgia, transferring to Ohio State. This shit is nothing new to him. I mean, just look through the bullshit he went through with, you know, his draft stock falling for him to get to us to fucking begin with. Like, realistically, Justin should have been the second quarterback off the board. Like, this I don't even. There's gonna come a time 3-4 years from now, there's going to be two conversations 3-4 years from now dealing with Bears players. One is going to be, damn, they let Jaquan Brisker fall that low. I truly believe that's going to be a conversation. And the main one's going to be, well, we redid the 2020 draft or 2021 draft. Where does Justin Fields go? That's going to be a conversation. So I'm not worried about how he's dealing with it. You know what I'm saying? That's not a worry of mine. But I just don't like the coverage that he's been getting from national media. And like you said, with national media, now they're not watching the games on the level that we are because they're national. They have to cover everybody. And I think it's unrealistic for them to expect to know about a team as much as the beat writers do. And I always say with any sports team, not just the Bears, pay attention to the team's beat writers. They're the ones in the trenches every day at the facility talking to the players, have a relationship with players. They know more, you know what I'm saying, like than these other than the national guys. And that's not to say the national guys, you know, they're doing their job by covering everything. But I think what we're seeing is a mix of Justin Fields being a black quarterback and a mix of him being the Chicago Bears quarterback. And this might be my meathead take. I will stand on this forever. I feel for some reason the national media has a bias against Chicago Bears. I've always felt that way. I felt that way when I was just a fan. I feel that way as a member of the media now. I don't know. I feel like they like it. I feel like it's kind of like the Knicks thing, where I feel like they like the Bears being the punching bag of the league. I truly believe that. And so
it's that basic human instinct to have something to talk about, have something to bash, have something to uplift. You know, it's like
but if you listen to the coverage of the Seattle game, they was up 27-11. They was talking like the Bears was down. It's nasty.
It's in order for that to change, the Bears have to change their opinion.
No, I 100%. I agree. It's the Bears have to put a better team out there. But on
the Bears brought on themselves, so
100%. I'm not disagreeing with that whatsoever. Fields a better team. I definitely agree with that. But as far as Justin, from what I saw, first of all, fuck NFL Plus. That shit is trash. The only reason I'm keeping it is so I can watch the film during the week of the previous games. But it was terrible coverage for the actual preseason games. And I thought it was just me, but everybody else was tweeting about this too. I could only watch the game on my fucking phone. Yeah. I couldn't watch it on my Fire Stick whatsoever. So I'm watching on the phone. But more than the stats, more than the touchdowns, it was his confidence. It was moving the line, moving the pocket, which how many times we asked for that last year? You know you don't have the best offensive line. Move it around. Get him coming out of play action. You know what I'm saying? Things that we would see in Kansas City because when Patrick Mahomes' offensive line wasn't that good. You move it around. Things you would see in Green Bay. And more than just Justin, I am beyond, just even 3 games in, beyond impressed with Luke Getsy. But the touchdown to Cole Kmet, you know what was most impressive about it? He comes out, he looks, Cole was his third read. What was the number one thing we always say about Mitch? He's a one-read quarterback. That was his third read. So that's impressive stuff. He's good on his foot. He's moving around. And for everybody saying, oh, well, you know, he was going against second stringers. That's fair. He was also throwing to second and third stringers. Like, let's put that into account. There was no Velas. There was no Byron Pringle. There's no N'Keal Harry. Like, he's just out there. You know, it was just, you know, Darnell's only nigga he got out there. So you got to add that as well. And I just love how, you know, how he looked confident. You know, so when you're in preseason, you're looking for, you know, for really just how your players play, not really the stats, because the stats don't fucking matter. It's just how they play, how the confidence level is. And if you're a Bears fan, you should want Justin to come in on a confidence level, feeling good like that. If he'd went out there and he had like 1 touchdown and 2 picks against a second string Browns defense, we'd be fucking panicking right now. So that's the kind of, if you're going to, when you're going up against, you know, I guess I won't say mediocre talent because these guys are super professionals, but they're not the starters. You're supposed to dominate. You know what I'm saying? You're supposed to look good. So I think just that alone is just good progression for Justin. And I really feel that, you know, this is something that he can build. And I think the confidence level is through the roof. And if you listen to his interview with Courtney Cronin, and he basically said, yo, you know, a lot of people down us, you know, I think we have a better line room, better wide receiver room than people think that we got. Like, the confidence is there. And this is compared to last year where it was a whole fucking shit show. He's confident. He did the whole training camp, practice with everybody. Last year, it's like they just threw him in the fire with it's like throwing somebody in the ocean with no protection. That's basically what Matt Nagy and the Bears did to Justin Fields last year. And I think this was a good start for him.
Sorry, I'm petting my dog. But no, I agree wholeheartedly. But I think this leads us into the next point about how good the offensive line was playing. That first series was trash. Second series, it came along really well. Passing off alignment, getting to that second level, containing blitzes, keeping the pocket nice and wide, not allowing the pocket to condense from the defensive lineman or from the pressure that's coming from the second level linebackers or defensive backs. So I really liked what I saw with the offensive line. Now, of course, Eberflus and the offensive line coaches have their jobs cut out as to what the depth chart is going to look like. Will it be Lucas Patrick, Cody Whitehair, Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins, Larry Borum as your starter, or is it Riley Reef situation? It just really depends. And so I'm really interested to see how they work. But, the offensive line's performance was, self-explanatory.
Yeah. Like I said, I feel like they did a pretty good job. This is offensive line that still isn't 100% healthy either. Like you said, Lucas Patrick is still. We don't know who he exactly is going to be the starting offensive line, but for a dress rehearsal, they played the first half. I thought that was pretty good. I think this is a team. This is an offensive line that, and it's one thing about this whole Bears team in general. It's a lot of unknown. Anybody who's 100% sure, oh, this team is going to be fucking god awful. You don't have any really ground to stand on that. It's just going to be 100% awful. If anybody for 100% thinks they're going to surprise people like 100%, you don't know. There's a lot of unknowns with this team. So, but from what I've seen in this game, it looks much better than it looked in the first two preseason games. And I think moving the line around, having Justin Fields do a lot of play action, that helped a lot. But there were still some times where like, okay, y'all trying to get Justin killed. You know what I'm saying? But overall, I thought it was decent.
Yeah.
So that's how I felt about the line. But let's get into what's your feel going into this regular season? What do you think the team's feel is? And just from the practices that I've been to, I feel like this is a pretty confident team. I think it's a team that they believe in what Eberflus is selling. Now, of course, it's all pre-games. You know what I'm saying? We'll see. Through the season, how much they do. But this feels like this is a team that believes their coach. They believe in the system. There's communication straight up and down from the board. It's better. The position rooms are stronger. I feel like we're actually talking to these people. The offensive coordinator gets to be the offensive coordinator. We ain't got a nigga up there who wants to be the whole fucking thing and Matt Nagy. You know what I'm saying? Now you would know better than me because you talked more to the previous regime, in press conference and stuff. But it feels like there's more communication from the coaching staff to the media, and I feel like that rubs off on the players. As Justin said in his interview with Courtney Crone, it's more younger locker room, so they're meshing a lot better because there's that they have more in common. You know what I'm saying? So it feel like there's a bond growing together, and I really feel like this is a team that feels like and they're rightfully being, underrated or not talked about. Rightfully so. This isn't like a slight to them. But I feel like they're gonna play with a little chip on their shoulder. Like, okay, let's show them what we can do. And as a member of the media and as a fan, I feel like I'm coming into the season like, okay, let's see. Like, I don't really know what to expect, but I have way more positive views about this team before I headed to camp. And then right now. So I'm cautiously optimistic. Not about the record. It's not about the record this year. I'm cautiously optimistic about the players that we have in the building. I don't give a fuck about the record. You know what I'm saying? It's about development of your young core and the guys who brought in, the Eberflus and Ryan Poles brought in.
I don't want to say that I don't care about the record because I still want to see more than like 5 games won. I will say my feel right now is hopeful that there is a future with the core that they have with Khalil Herbert, David Montgomery, Justin Fields, Velus Jones, Darnell Mooney, and then looking at Jaquan Brisker, Kyler Gordon, Roquan if he stays. That core, I am looking and hoping that is the essence of what leads the Bears to becoming eventually a contender. But my feel is hopeful, which I think the reason I'm most hopeful for is the strengths that I believe the Bears have, and that's the quarterback and the defensive backs. The defensive backs, because I think Eddie Jackson is going to be a good anchor as a veteran.
Yeah,
Jaquan Brisker,
bounce back. Yeah,
I forgot about Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, Jaquan Brisker are going to be phenomenal, and it's going to be hard to throw on them. especially when the linebackers are playing so we're playing discipline, and the defensive line is condensing that pocket. So I have a lot of hope in this Bears team because of that backfield, defensive backfield. And then looking at the offense, I'm a believer in Justin Fields. I'm a freaking Buckeye, dude. I love the Buckeyes. Um, and I really think he's going to take his game to the next level. We saw him adjust. We saw him go through bumps and bruises before, him not being able to beat out what's his face at Georgia, but then coming to Ohio
Jake Fromm,
and then coming to Ohio State and figuring out who he is and how good of a quarterback he can be, and then becoming that incredible player, Heisman finalist. And so I'm looking forward to him also breaking the mold and getting revenge from my boy Troy Smith, because my nigga Troy Smith was dead wrong at Ohio State. At Ohio State in the NFL, he could have been one of them niggas if he had a coach brave like John Harbaugh, because he was maybe not as fast as Lamar Jackson, but just as gifted of a runner and a better thrower. Disrespectful. That's beyond the point.
It sounds like some Buckeye bias coming from you over there.
Maybe, but I'm looking forward to Justin Fields' season this year. I'm really expecting 3,000 plus yards from him and a plethora of touchdowns. And I think you'll see a quarterback who can run, but wants to stay in that pocket and throw too. So I'm happy. I'm hopeful, rather.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you said, the strength to me, I think is going to be secondary, like you just said. I do think, this is going to be a bounce back year for Bojack. Bojack he's one of the vets on this team. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you look at that 2018 roster, it's him, Patrick Scales, and Roquan. The only guys from that era, from 2018. Last time they made the playoff. Well, they made the playoffs 2020, but 2018 when they were good. You know what I'm saying?
When there was an actual legitimate playoff.
Yeah, when it was
berth.
an actual playoff berth, not one of them bullshit things they did 2 years ago. But so I think that's going to be the position group that's going to be the strongest. But I think this is going to be a Justin Fields year. Yeah. I think Justin Fields is going to have a really good year. He's going to have a lot of progression. I'm not going to say he's going to throw 30 touchdowns, but I do think he's going to get damn close. I do. I'm going to set it. You're going 30. I think 30 overall with rushing for sure. But I think he's going to get close. I'm going to say 27 passing touchdowns. I'm going to say about 11 interceptions. And I'm going to say 3,000 passing yards.
And I see Brian on Facebook saying, I want the Bears to have an entertaining season. Even if we lose, let's make these other teams work for the W 100%. And not run us over, not just like when we had Nagy. I want Nagy arrested. So absolutely. I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Now let's talk about Roquan. Roquan Smith has ended his holding. I didn't go to the last practice of the camp because I was fucking tired. I didn't feel like driving an hour and a half to Lake Forest, and it was fucking raining. And then
I've been busy, so I've missed a lot of camp because I'm teaching every day.
You're a working man, dog.
So Scott's going to be there for those who want the rundown for us this season. Scott will be handling the majority of, all of the press conferences, practices after on the practice days, because I work from 7 to 4 every day. So I won't be able to make those. But the games I will be making, I should be at least 15 of those 17. The ones that I won't go to, we'll name in the season, but Scott will cover when I'm not there.
I'll be doing 10 to 11 games this year.
So it's gonna be a good season for covering the Bears for us this year. Going to the most games of a Bears season I've been to. I think I went to 12 last season. The year before, I could only go to home games, so it was 8.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a good season. For sure.
Yeah, so the practice I didn't go to, Roquan decided to end his fucking hold in.
Yeah, I mean, he should have known.
And this is the thing about Roquan.
Get an agent, bro.
Get a fucking agent. And I know a lot of players.
I get the fact that he feels disrespectful.
You pulling the me on me. You didn't cut me off like 5 times.
My bad.
But so I kind of feel like, I know there's a lot of players out there who are vocal about being able to represent themselves. Shout out to Pat McAfee. He's very vocal about it. He said he thinks people who say they need an agent are full of shit. There's a lot of bad agents out there. And I'm not saying that all good agents are good, but I'm just saying when it even comes to negotiations, you know what I'm saying? This could have been handled a lot differently if he had an agent. I'm not saying this is for sure he gets his contract, but I don't think he takes things as personally if that's his agent hearing this stuff and not him. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if you look in the Derek Jeter document, he said one of the toughest things for him was being in the arbitration rooms and hearing a team that drafted you tell you what you're not worth. And he held on to that until literally he got into the Hall of Fame when he told Brian Cashman, yo, it was stupid shit, my bad. So it's stuff that as a player, your agent is meant to hear. Your agent is meant to say, okay, let me take this. Here's a better number. And he says, Roquan said he felt like the negotiation was distasteful. Like, and I'm not trying to sound like a Ryan Poles stand or anything like that. If anybody who listens to this podcast know that I've disagreed with a lot of things that Ryan Poles has done this year so far.
And also, we've been through Ryan Pace and we've been through Phil Emery, shit like that. We're not Jerry Angelo. We're not standing any
front office
until you win a title.
But what I'm saying is, it's like, but even from a negotiation standpoint, it helps. It's not the Bears' job to just straight up give you what you want, right? They're trying to. Let's see, it's a corporation. They're gonna try to fuck you. That's just how any team is. They're not gonna automatically give you the deal you want. So if you had an agent, I feel like this process is a little bit more cleaner, not as sloppy. But he had no leverage whatsoever. He said the request got denied right away. So he decided to hold in, and the Bears, I think this is a win for me. And Ryan Poles he didn't blink. He didn't blink whatsoever. And as a new time GM, you can say, well, he should just give him the money right away. You wouldn't 100% be wrong. But as a new GM, you got to remember, Roquan's not his guy. As great as Roquan is, I think Roquan one of the best linebackers in the game. Mm-hmm. Roquan ain't his guy. He ain't draft this nigga. So this is still an evaluation period for everybody who they didn't bring in. He has no relationship with him. You know what I'm saying? This isn't like if Ryan Pace, I'm pretty sure he'd have paid him and gave him more money than he probably needed to fucking give him because there was a relationship there. There's no relationship there. And he was like, well, I felt like I wanted McCaskey to step in. Why would George McCaskey come in, step on the feet of a guy he just hired? That doesn't make any sense. So I feel like Roquan understood, I'm not going to win this. Let me go out here and play and bet on myself. One of three things is going to happen come March. Either he's going to get his big contract and because he played his ass off. 2, he's going to get franchise tag. Or 3, they're going to fucking trade him and he'll go to a team he wants to go. But at the end of the day, this is a good move for him. And honestly, it's a good move for Roquan because he was going to get taxed a lot of fucking money. And if he missed 4 games, he didn't get any credit for this year. So that's my thoughts on Roquan. I have no problem him wanting money. You get all the money you want to get paid, black man. I just felt like the situation would have been handled better if he had an agent.
I will say this. Everybody needs an advocate to go to bat for them. Yes. I respect Pat McAfee because he was a player. He knows the ins and outs and he knows the background and the bad behind the scenes because I'm not a player, never have been. But there are some basic not logical, but things you can see with empirical evidence, even if it's just personal anecdotal experience that lets you know you can't be a master of everything. And so you're a football player. You have to master the craft of football. But more importantly, you have to master your position. So you master your position, let's say like a linebacker. You're a Roquan Smith. You're an outside linebacker. Then in the offseason, you need to become a trainer for yourself. Then after becoming a trainer, you need to become an agent for yourself. Then after becoming an agent, you need to become a businessman. You need to be a business for your person. That's so much for one person to do. This is why you hire a personal trainer, because their job is to work on the anatomy of the body and how to best get the strength that you want to get to and the conditioning that you want. You hire an agent because they understand the cutthroat business of industry and business and entertainment and sports, period. But also they understand that they won't take it personally because they're going to advocate. And if you've seen Entourage, which I finished and Scott doesn't believe me, I've seen just even looking at Jeremy Piven's character, and seeing his own ruthlessness, I think that has to be a reflection of how ruthless business, period, can be. And so the fact that, remember, the Bears are a business. The NFL has the most revenue out of any league in the world. Yes, that includes the Premier League, which is soccer, is the biggest sport in the world. Obviously, there are thousands of football leagues within soccer, as America would call it. But the NFL is the biggest league in the world. The Bears themselves make in more than some entire sports league make. And so they have to have people who set the standards on what they're going to spend, what they're not going to spend. Matt Forte, Brian mentioned that Matt Forte said the Bears were cheap. I don't doubt. But under Ryan Poles, they shoveled money places they shouldn't have gone. Yeah. They threw money. They threw money too readily. And so they went from being cheap to, we're not going to manage this well. And so now Ryan Poles has to come in, set a standard, and say, okay, Roquan, I understand you're one of the best outside linebackers in the game. We're switching to a 4-3, though.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to play a different role than you did before. In addition to that, I don't know you. I've seen the highlight tape. I've seen the stats. I don't know you. And it would be, I do not think a smart GM comes in and just shovels money without making a proper assessment. And right now, for his benefit, Ryan Poles wants to make more of an assessment on Roquan. And I'm not mad at him. I'm also not mad at Roquan for wanting his money because he's been one of the greatest outside linebackers in the year. But also, I know Ryan Poles is analytical, and he's probably looking at what has happened with the outside linebacker who's got big payday. They fell off. Now, of course, I do not like data trends because I do not think data trends are logical. I think they are presumptive, and we assume just because this person's situation, this person happens, therefore this you shouldn't invest in this or take risk in this. I don't think that. I think that's just because I'm a logician and a philosopher. I don't like following that. Data people may disagree with me. I don't. I think that's too big of a rational risk to take to do, especially when you see, trends. I'm saying Jalen Smith and what happened with him and his contract and then being out of the league. I believe he is now. Let me look that up. Is Jalen Smith out of the league? Yeah, he's a free agent. He's 27.
Yeah.
27 years old, bro. 27 years old, bro. And was one of the best linebackers in the league at one point in time. So, it's unfortunate. But I can understand. And he signed that 5-year, $64 million contract in 2019. Yeah. Interesting. And then, of course, now what's he doing? Nothing. So I understand the trends that someone like Ryan Poles or the analytics department will do. We'll just have to see what happens in the future. I think Roquan deserves the money. And so that's why
I think he deserves it too. And I think if he has a great season, I think he gets it.
I don't necessarily agree with either side, but I understand either side. And sometimes that's hard for Americans as we're so used to left, right, extreme. I'm more so, maybe it's here, maybe it's here, maybe it's here. The truth flows. The truth is not static.
Yep. We're not going to do a game by game thing. We've done that mad times, but let's just go to what we think how many wins, final record for the Bears. Put your money where your mouth is. I'm going to say, I think this team wins 7 games. I'm going to say they go 7-10, and I see a path to 8 or 9. Now, path doesn't mean it'll happen, but I see a path. As I was looking at the schedule, I feel like there's going to be a game or two the Bears win it. They have zero business winning. And I think there's going to be a game or two the Bears lose that they have zero business losing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be one of them type things. But I do feel I feel like they have to go 2-1 in the first 3 for them to win those 7. You have to win at home against San Francisco, and you got to win the second home game against Houston. You're not good if you beat Green Bay. Amazing, but no. As every Bears fan with a brain knows, I'm not picking them to beat Aaron Rodgers.
I'm marking both games as losses. So
until they beat that perked out motherfucker.
To beat the man, you got to beat the man.
In the words of Ric Flair, that's exactly how it is. So I think they have to win. I think the Niners are a good team. I think the Niners will probably be a wild card team, but you can catch them on Trey Lance's first pro start. You know what I'm saying? On the road, it's gonna be busting up.
It's not a first pro start.
It's not first pro start?
No.
He started a game last year?
Yeah, Jimmy G got hurt.
Oh, he did. You're right. Either way, first year as a full-time starter. On the road to begin the season, there's pressure on him.
Because I like to be smart, I immediately went to go double check to make sure I wasn't tripping. He started 2 games.
But he's a starter now. He was never the guy last year. He's the guy. This is his team. The reins on him. And also Pat McAfee, Darius Butler said this on the show today. No matter what we think the reasoning was for the Jimmy Garoppolo thing, that's extra pressure on him regardless. On not just him, but the locker room. Sure. Because it's a vet heavy locker room. They're still trying to win the Super Bowl. Remember, they were a play away from going to the Super Bowl last year. And if Trey, I'm
a pass away from winning it.
Yeah, right, exactly. I hella forgot about that. Like, so if Trey, starts off slow, the vets are going to be like, look, nigga, I'm not trying to waste my last couple years with a rookie. Throw Jimmy G back in there. So just off the locker room, as the Bears, you want to come in there and you want to beat them. And I love what Darnell Mooney said. Darnell Mooney said that there might be some smoke for the Niners because Justin want to get them back passed on them on the draft. So I'm really interested to see week 1.
Do what Patrick Mahomes did to the Bears.
Yeah, count it to 10. After like the 4th fucking touchdown. But I'll be there. Joe will be there. We'll be there for week 1. I'm looking forward to it. Like I tweeted this week, I've never been to a Bears home opener. Those things are extremely fucking expensive. We couldn't afford them, so I'm excited to be there in the house for this. I'll be at the practice facility. I will be at Halas Hall, so our next podcast will be next Wednesday. After I go to the practice and I talk to the media, I'll talk to Matt Eberflus. I'll talk to Justin Fields. There's going to be more exclusive access this year. You know, the locker rooms are back open. So we'll be able to talk to the players in the locker room, and we're going to get some exclusive interviews for y'all on the Patreon. So you might want to subscribe to Patreon, patreon.com/barbershop
exclusive interviews with players, by the way.
With players.
Scott will be, for the most part, handling the locker room, and I'll be handling the
press conference. Right?
Press conference. That's the really great thing is the fact that it's two of us now, and so we can sort of counter that. So I can prepare my questions for when Eberflus gets up there, and Scott can just ask players who he wants to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be really cool. Really cool. I like to thank you all for rocking with us during the training camp. It was really tough this first year. I had applied for a job in July. All of a sudden, I get it. It's in my field. It's a theology degree, a theology position. I have to then alter my schedule. Scott has to come in, take over. And so next season, it'll be a lot more smoother training camp. But thank you all for rocking with us, because there's some days we weren't able to get to be there. So we'd like to thank you all for rocking with us. Thank you all for listening to this episode.
And also, for this season, we let y'all know the weekly preview pods, which will drop like on Wednesday or Thursdays, depending on if they get Monday night or Thursday night game. Those are on the Patreon. There's a $5 $79 Halas tier. If you don't want to subscribe to everything, it's a $5 $79 Halas tier, but you can check that out. And for our weekly pods, the ones, the recaps that we have after the game, we're going to be live streaming those. We're going to be doing that, from the press box at either Soldier Field or wherever other city we're at. Those are going to be right after the game, and the audio will be right there. If you missed this stream, I'm about to upload this audio right now. You can check it out. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Brian.
Thank you for your first listen, brother. We appreciate you.
Thank you for your first listen. Shout out to Brian. Shout out to Brandon. Shout out to Alex. Shout out to everybody who listens. Shout out to everybody who supports this podcast, supports this brand, bcnet.com. And man, we gonna holler at y'all next week. We out.
Sir.